When I was around 9 in 1974, my consultant at Alder Hey Hospital couldn't do any more for my sight and needed further advice. And this is after, the first 10 years of my life spending a lot of time in hospital. I needed to go to Moorfields Eye Hospital in London for some specialist advice. My parents couldn't afford to take me to London. And it was a shop steward on the picket line at Vauxhall Motors in Ellesmere Port who put together a collection on the picket line that enabled me to have the funds for my parents to take me to London for that consultation. There wasn't anything the specialist could do, and so we came back early. There was some unspent money, and the strikers didn't want the money back and said that I should use it to, in some way, for supporting my adjustment to the onset of blindness. And with that money I bought a Perkins Braille machine, which still sits on my desk 50 years later, which I use for notes and writing speeches and various other things that I do in my community and political life. And that machine has been invaluable, and it's a kind of legacy. And even from the age of 10, I realised the solidarity of working people, and that is why I very much through and through a person with Labour and socialist values, and why at the earliest opportunity I joined the Labour Party. And the first meeting I attended of the Labour Party, the chair was in that same shop steward who 6 or 7 years earlier had organised that collection. Even at a very early age, I always felt female and felt trapped in the environment that I was in. And certainly I knew that it would be too dangerous to articulate. I didn't know any I didn't have that language about transgender at that age. I didn't know any gay people. It was, a land that I would find out about in the future.
Where were you when you started to feel a little bit more at ease?
Late 20s and early 30s, when I was able to access the internet. It opened a new world. I was able to explore on the internet that there were people like me. It was dawning on me that what I thought was impossible could be possible. In looking on the internet, looked at various groups and had conversations with some people online, and then I went to a support group once a month and was able to meet other trans women. By this time, though, I had married, had children, and therefore had responsibilities to them. That's why eventually I had to seek professional support. I came to the point in my life where I felt I needed to cross that Rubicon. So the first thing I had to do was to talk to my wife. We talked about options, but it became clear that going forward, she didn't want to be married to a woman, and that is understandable that she didn't sign up for that ticket. Although I should stress that we have and still remain to be great friends and both support our adult children and grandchildren to this day. I went to tell my parents, who were not favourable, to say the least. My mother said, well, what are the neighbours going to say? And my response was, well, I'm not sure it really matters because you haven't spoken for about 20 years. So I don't have a relationship with my parents or wider family. During the time of transition, the Isle of Wight was important to me. 10 years before I transitioned, we had a holiday home here in Sandam. We would bring the children during holidays. Quite a lot of time was spent here with the children, having the usual fun that families would have on the beach and other activities around the island. But it was also a sanctuary for me where I was able to come on my own to work through some of those real deep challenges and the fear of taking those steps through the transition. As I moved out of the divorce and into a new life, I sold the house here and built the rest of my life in London, where I'd been living for many years, working. It was some years later that I then decided to come back and live on the island.
Do you still find it a haven?
I find it a dichotomy in the sense that it's a lovely place to live, but along with the quaintness of the island, it also comes with views that are perhaps set back 40 or 50 years ago. So I do find a real contrast when I'm here and with the time I spend in London or other parts of the UK. I have a strong sense of questioning about whether I belong here. Does somebody like me, a disabled trans woman, someone who is different, do I belong on the Isle of Wight? And I don't know.
What would you say to that young Emily now?
Step forward and go through that transition. I should have done it much sooner. That's for me, but there is another side to that, and if I had, then perhaps I wouldn't have had my children and had those amazing experiences and the love and trust that we have. They have gone through that journey with me, and it's been difficult for them. However, there are some positive things that we've shared. When I was going through the transition and we talked about the person I was seeking to become, we had a conversation about my name, and you were all named by your parents. I was named by my children. So they chose my name, Emily. The meaning of Emily is industrious, and they thought that summed me up. Someone who was very active, engaged and industrious, and therefore Emily was the fit. And so I become Emily because they have helped create and shape me to the person I am today, which is in a much happier, fulfilled and contented place